I'm Brian McDermott, Community Chef, and today I'm going to show you and focus on the pork chop and the chicken fillet and show you what to do that's exciting with it and a lovely marinade. So for me there's nothing better than going along to your local craft butcher and picking up the pork chops or the chicken fillet and actually speaking to someone, your local butcher. And that's what's lovely about this, what I've done today. There's loads of deals going on with pork chops and the chicken fillet, so I'm going to show you how to put together a lovely marinade for both. Now all I've got my butcher to do here is I've got him to cut my chicken fillet into what we call an escallop, which is just a flattened out piece of chicken, and I've gone for two beautiful pork chops. So we're going to leave them aside for a minute and I'm going to make a fantastic marinade for these. So we often struggle with ideas to what to do with our pork chop or our chicken fillet. Here's a fantastic one. It's a lovely simple little marinade which is going to help tenderize and add flavour to really what is relatively low flavour chicken fillet and also to the pork chop. And the recipe is so simple. It's 2 tablespoons of whole grain mustard into a stainless steel bowl, followed quickly by 2 tablespoons of runny honey, to that I'm going to add some clear malt vinegar, and we're going to slightly whisk that just to bind the ingredients together. And now for me, here's the great flavour that I'm going to add to it, and that is some freshly zested lime zest and juice. That gives a lovely zinginess of flavour. You have the sweetness from the honey, you have the bitterness coming from the vinegar, and you've got the sourness coming from your lime with a little bit of bitterness, and that's all your taste buds stimulated by this lovely dressing and marinade. So very lightly with your lime. Never ever go into the white core of any citrus fruit. It's too bitter in my opinion. So I just love the zesty burst that comes from just under the skin. The smell that is absolutely gorgeous. So now that you've finished the zest, what we're going to do is we're going to add the juice of half the lime to that and just squeeze that in. Look at that, beautiful. So now you've got your lime in there, we're going to slowly feed in some of our very good quality rapeseed oil, and again for the low levels of saturated fat and the lovely omegas that come from this, it's perfect for this dressing. So it's a slow feed in of about 180 mils. Going to thicken this up slightly. It's called an emulsification. And now you can see this lovely golden dressing starting to appear in the bowl. It's thickening up slightly, and a good whisk at the end. And lastly, into that I'm going to put a twist of fresh ground black pepper. To me that's a lovely perfect little marinade for any of your poultry meats, whether it's your chicken or your pork, and it also doubles up as a lovely dressing, so you can put that into a bottle as a lovely salad dressing. That will keep for 3 to 4 months with the vinegars and everything in there. Take it out, brush it over any of your white meat or poultry, and that's absolutely perfect for adding flavour, for marinating and for tenderising. So that's our simple honey, lime and mustard, whole grain mustard dressing stroke marinade. So now when you have your dressing made, it's back to our fantastic meat, and we're going to use our chicken fillet, which has been escalloped, just into a nice earthenware dish, followed by your pork chop. So we're going to use 2 pork chops, and this is going to be a lovely combination. And I'm simply then just going to brush on our marinade. Okay, that's going to add a lovely flavour to this. And you want to leave this for about 15 minutes minimum, and there's no problem with leaving that overnight. And a little bit extra, pour it in on top of that. And now don't add your raw meat to this, because you can keep this for later and for the months ahead as a dressing or a marinade for another day. And that's it. We're going to simply wrap those, put them into the fridge and leave them for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to serve this with some potato, and I've decided to go with some sweet potato and some normal. This is just a rooster potato diced up. So I'm going to plunge them just into boiling water for a few minutes just to cook them. And along with it, I'm going to serve some cabbage. I'm going to shred up some cabbage and I'm going to blanch it first, and we're going to serve that with a little bit of creme fraiche with it. Now, one thing I want to point out is always with your cabbage leaves is to wash them whole. Never chop and then wash, because you flush out too much of the vitamins and too much of the flavour. So we're going to take the centre core out of our cabbage because it's very bitter and it's very tough. So 3 leaves of cabbage. And now I want you to layer your cabbage one on top of the other. So I've previously washed these, and we're going to roll this up. This is called a chiffonade. This is a big fancy chef's words, but there's no need for it. It basically is rolled up leaves. It could be cabbage, it could be lettuce, and we're going to shred it. Nice and fine with the shredding. And that's our perfect chiffonade of green York cabbage. So what's great about this simple little recipe is your potatoes are in cooking, and we can drop our cabbage in alongside them, and that's only for about 3 to 4 minutes, just to take the bitterness and keep the cabbage lovely and green. And you'll notice I haven't put salt into that water. I'm not a fan of adding salt. There's no need for it when you're using pork. There's enough natural salt in there. Okay, so once your cabbage and potatoes are on cooking, your meat's marinating, the next thing is your pan, and again we're looking for a very good thick based bottom pan to get a good retention of heat in there, because when you're sealing off meat it's so important that you seal in the nutrition, the flavour and the natural juices. And to me it's a good quality pan, like a Stellar pan. Lovely thick based bottom, and always heat it dry, never heat a pan and oil together, particularly in this recipe where we have oil already in the marinade with the meat. So we've put on our pan, we've got our cabbage and potatoes on, and I'm going to go to the fridge. After about that 15 minutes now, the marinade of the meat is going to start to tenderise that. So there we go. There's our beautifully marinated chicken escalope and our pork chops. So we're going to cook both of these together just for a bit of variety, so you can have a little bit of chicken with a little bit of pork, even the likes of a little bit of bacon added in there at the end. So with the oil in the marinade, the pan heated, we're ready to start sealing these off. And you should hear a lovely sound, and a lovely smell will get up in your kitchen here of sweetness. And that's what I want to hear. The food should be talking to you, the pan should be on fire and sizzling. There's our second one, and I'm now going to get in our beautiful escalope of chicken. And I'm going to pour that excess marinade in on top. Let them seal, let them cook for about a minute or so on either side, and then we're going to transfer that to the oven for about 2 to 3 minutes to cook out. Okay, so now we've got a lovely temperature in there. Let's turn that over. Look at that lovely caramelisation. And that to me is transforming the likes of your pork chop and your chicken fillet. It's giving you something different to do with it. So we're just going to let that cook for another 30 seconds there, and then what's great about the thick based bottom pan like a Stellar, transfer the entire pan to the oven. Only really about 3 minutes on that just to cook them out, and then I'm going to drain my cabbage and potatoes and finish them off. So while your pork and your chicken's in cooking, your cabbage and your potatoes, after a few minutes on, look at the colour of those, they're lovely and green. That's fantastic to me, and a lovely smell of fresh veg coming. I'm going to drain the water off those and keeping them in the same pot. That's important to me, just to keep them in the same pot, because you're keeping in the nutrition then as well. Okay, and simply to that I'm going to add in some freshly ground black pepper, okay, just for a little boost of good fresh flavour. And some creme fraiche and cream. And my reason for creme fraiche and cream is to be a little bit more healthier with this. The low fat creme fraiche, I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. And there's the thickness of that going in. And that's really just adding a little bit of creaminess with a lovely healthy option on it. And we're just going to heat that through for about a minute or two in a lovely low heat. It's going to keep the lovely green, the orange of the sweet potato, and that natural potato in there. I'm going to heat my plate in the oven just while I take out the chicken and the pork. Wow, the smell from that is absolutely fantastic. Now look at that lovely caramelization. That's tenderized the chicken and the pork. It's lovely sweetness coming from the honey. We're getting a real sharpness from the whole grain mustard, and it's giving you that lovely rustic edge to it. So we're going to let our meat just rest slightly for a minute or two. Very important that you let that contract back down to relax again. And what's great about doing the chicken, do 2 or 3 of these extra, let them go cold. They're a lovely flavoured sliced chicken for your sandwiches, your pasta dishes, your salad dishes. They're excellent, and the same with some pork. So there's our nice warm plate, and I'm going to serve a little bit of both. I'm going to go with some chicken and some pork on this. Wow, look at that. That is so tender and so juicy. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a pork chop, small bit of your chicken, just alongside it. Who says you can't match poultry? Of course you can. And now, it's like a little stew, is our potatoes, our lovely bed of green, creamy cabbage, and get in some of that sweet potato, some of that natural rooster potato into that. Not too much of the drizzle of the cream sauce, just a little bit onto that. And now the marinade or dressing that you've made and you've put back into your fridge, take it back out, and we're going to garnish a little bit of it around. Look at that. So simple. It's multiple uses of the same ingredients. And finally, I just want a little bit of chopped fresh parsley. And you'll notice I'm going with the flat leaf parsley. You can also use the curly parsley, or equally a little bit of basil in the summer would even be good for that. So it's a lovely chop. And there's our fresh parsley. To me, that's one of the simplest things you can do with either a pork chop or a chicken fillet. Make your lovely marinade, double it up as a dressing, keep it as extra, cook some extra chicken or pork, slice it down for your sandwiches, your salads, your pastas. That's economic cooking, and that's showing the good core value of your craft butcher, his pork chops and his chicken fillet. That to me is home food.